Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Jessica. Thank you so much for clicking on this video today. I'm glad you're here because we're going to do a quick update on my 2022 Pan That palette, which of course is none other than the ABH Modern Renaissance palette. You know it, you love it, it's so original. Watch me pan it. I've been working on this since the beginning of the year, and I'm happy to report that there is some fun progress to be shared with you today. So let's go ahead and get into this video and see how far I've come on my project so far. We're now in the third month of this project, 2 months in, and progress is coming. It may not be as fast as I might want it to be, but there is some changes to report today. I am mixing this in with a lot of other eyeshadow projects or eyeshadows that are in projects, so not all of the attention is getting spent on this baby here, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. That was never the goal. The goal was just to see how far we could go, and I already have ideas about what I might do next year. In addition to a Pan That palette, maybe? I don't know. We'll see. Let's get into my updates here. So I'll go ahead and show you what this palette was looking like when I introduced it. Here it was at the beginning of the year. And this is how it was looking last month. I had a goal to hit pan on Love Letter and Red Ochre in the last month. And here's what my palette's looking like now. There she is. You can see I did in fact hit pan on those two shadows. A very small pan in Red Ochre. I don't even know if you can see it. It is so tiny. And then also a pretty small pan in Love Letter. A little bit bigger, but not much. It's pretty easy to focus on these shades in the past month. It was February that we just got out of, and so I did a lot of pink looks. I'm wearing like a pink purple look today. That is not the only progress that we have to talk about. I also hit pan on a third shadow, which is Golden Ochre, which I wasn't trying to hit pan on that shadow, but I knew it was close. So I'm glad that it now has a pan to share with all of you in this update. We're gonna go ahead and go through each of the shades one by one and talk a little bit about them, and I'll tell you how much I was able to use them in the past month, as well as how many times I've used them total during this year. All right, Tempera is the first shade right there. Obviously, this is the one I have the biggest pan in. In the last month, I've used this an additional 18 times. I pretty much use it almost every time I do my makeup. I used it 24 times in the first month, so that makes a total of 42 uses. And this one I expect to use up completely without really trying too hard. It's just already got so much product used up, and what is around the side is pretty thin at this point. I look forward to sharing a bigger pan with you next month on that. Second shade is Golden Ochre. This is the one I had my surprise pan on, which was so nice. I knew it was close. I definitely used it a lot. This shade is not very pigmented, at least not for my skin tone. So when I use it, I have to use quite a bit of it. And it had quite a flat area, a low area, so that the pan that I hit is quite significant. I used this 5 times in the past month, and I actually hit pan on it after the third use. And yeah, so already it's quite large. Vermeer I used 7 times in the past month, which I'm a little disappointed in myself. I definitely feel like I could have made an effort to use this one a few more times. This is what it's looking like this month. I don't know if you'll be able to see much progress there. In total, I've now used this shade 20 times. So I'd like to kind of amp up my usage on this shade more, maybe use it as a highlight, try and expand that pan, an inner corner highlight at least. That's mainly what I use it for. But I could definitely wash this all over the lid and just try a little bit harder to get some progress on Vermeer. Bonfresco is looking great. I love this shade. I'm wearing it in my crease today. It's like the first transition shade. I love it for any purple or pink look. It just is the perfect cool toned shade to kind of set the tone for those purple looks that I obviously love to wear. It's no secret around here that Jessica loves purple. And I think we've definitely seen some more progress on this pan. I've used this shade 8 times in the past month, which isn't a huge number, but it's one of the shadows that I've used the most, and that makes a total for 18 times in this project. And I definitely think the pan has gotten bigger, so that's exciting. Antique Bronze, oh poor Antique Bronze. I've used this 1 time, which at least I used it once, because the first update I hadn't used it at all, so I used it 1 time. I'm just using a lot of shades that are kind of similar to this in my project pan, and it just doesn't quite do what I would like it to do. So someone recommended using it in the brow. I just don't know how that would work. I'll have to make an effort to get a little more use on this shade. It is a good like all over the lid shade for more like, I don't know, deeper looks. So we'll try and get some use on that maybe in the fall. I don't see me using it much in the spring or summer, but we shall see. So right now we're at 1 use and just try and see a difference. Try, look closely, look closely, look closely. Yeah, you probably can't see anything, but you tried, and I appreciate that. Love Letter was one of my focus shades in the past month, and hurrah, I was able to hit pan on it. I've used this 3 times in the past month for a total of 11 times in this project, and I think why I was able to hit pan on this relatively quickly is because I use a detail brush for it, mostly to apply in my outer corner, and I have this like certain brush that I use in my outer corner that I just like, it's my pan hitting brush. If I use this brush in any eyeshadow, I'll get pan on it pretty quickly. It just picks up a ton of product and applies it quite nicely in the perfect shape. I'll show it to you. Here it is. It's filthy. Here, this is it. It's a crown brush. I got it in a BoxyCharm and I love it. It's the perfect shape to make the outer corner like really easily. It's quite tapered on the end too, so it's really great for blending, like very detailed blending. And I just love it. I use it almost every day that I do my makeup, and it also helps me hit a lot of pans just because of the nature of the brush. So that's what I used on Love Letter when I was using it, and now we have a nice little pan on that one. And I would like to keep using her, I think in the summer, maybe a little more use. I've just kind of been a little burnt out on the pink look, so once I hit pan, I kind of gave it a little break and only used it 3 times, which is not that great, especially because I was focusing on it. But I think, yeah, like I said, once I hit pan, I just moved on to other things. I definitely think I'll be able to expand that pan in this span of this project, but I'll come back to it. I'm sure I will. Cypress Umber is the dark brown, and I haven't really been using this much. It's normally a liner shade. Yeah, I used it 1 time in the past month, and I doubt you'll be able to see any difference. It has quite a nice pan on there, but it's pretty stagnant right now, not really changing. And I want to try using this in my brows. I think that would actually be an interesting experiment. Hopefully it's not too warm for my brows. We'll see. I'll give it a try, and that'll help me get more use on it. I do have other eyebrow products that I'm panning, so I might just do it here and there as an experiment. We'll see. If you'd like to see my panning videos, I'll link them in the cards up above. Check them out if you haven't already, as well as my Pan Those Eyeshadows videos, which are also super fun. Raw Sienna is that next shade. I only used this shade 3 times in the past month, and I kind of just mix this with burnt orange, or when I want a neutral crease tone that's not as warm as burnt orange or like as yellow as golden ochre, I'll go for Raw Sienna. And I've now used this a total 4 times in this project, which is not very good. I actually had this in a Pan Those Eyeshadows, I think last year, and that's why I have pan on it now. And I haven't really gone for it much since, because I've been going for burnt orange, which I love. I love burnt orange. It's probably one of my favorite mattes in this palette. I've used this one 5 times in the past month, which is not a huge amount, but I'm hoping that you'll be able to see that the pan is a little bit more expanded. I use a really big fluffy brush with this eyeshadow, so it picks up a lot of product, and I also layer it quite a bit because I love it so much. So this will be a fun shade to focus on and like really expand it in the continuing months. Primavera is the next shade. I've used this shade 5 times this month, and I think you'll be able to see a little bit of progress. I've now used it 15 times total in this year, and I've used it as an all over the lid shade a couple times, which I really liked. And it was just a really easy, like fast, natural look for work. And I plan to do that more as we go through this project. And hopefully, you know, maybe I could also use it as a highlight the same way I use Vermeer and get some more use on it that way. Because these are 2 shades that I know that I can finish completely. So I want that to happen for at least a couple of shades in this palette. If I'm not going to be completing the whole palette, I want to at least like make it look like as empty as possible. So that will be my goal for Primavera eventually. Not now. I'm just going to keep it organic for now, but we'll see what happens. Red Ochre, I just used a couple times. I used this shade 3 times in the past month for a total of 6 uses during this year. And I do have a tiny little pinprick pan in there. I was using kind of a smaller fluffy brush for this and buffing it into my outer crease. And it's quite neutral actually. It has quite a reddish look in the pan, but on the eye it's more of just like a really warm deeper brown, like a warm medium brown, which can blend out to look quite natural, or neutral, I should say. And I really like that shade. So I don't know how much use I'll get on this shade overall during this Pan That palette. I'll just kind of go into it organically for now. It's not one that I intend to use up necessarily. Next we have Venetian Red, and this was a shade that barely had any use last month, and I would like this shade to look more used. I had a goal of using it more in the month of February, since it is like a reddish pink fuchsia shade. And I did. I used it 4 times for a total of 5 times during this year, which is something, you know. At least I used it 4 times, and I do think you can see use on it. You can definitely see a disturbance in the pan that was not there before. Definitely not a dip, but I'll take it, you know. My goal was to use it more, and I did. Hopefully in the summer, fall time, I'll get more use on that shade as well. Warm Taupe. This one, I'm like, I need to dive in on this one because I only used it 1 time in the past month for a total of 1 time this whole year. And I don't know why. I just don't reach for this shade. I just think that it doesn't really go well with other tones that I'm using. I don't even really feel like it goes very well with other tones in this palette. It's not that I don't like the shade, I just don't think it quite fits. If you have advice on how to use taupe, or how you've used taupe with these other colors, please leave them in the comments, because I don't know why it's like stumping me. I think I could mix this in with other palettes I have, and I can envision like a look I could create. But with these like really warm tones, or these like purples and pinks, like, I don't know, I just don't see it. If I'm gonna use the pink, then I'm gonna go in with Bon Fresco as the first transition. I'm not gonna transition with Warm Taupe and then use that cool tone pink. Or yeah, even mixing the cool tones with the warm tones, like maybe I could try that, like mixing Warm Taupe and Real Gar. I don't know. Like I said, let me know what you think. I am kind of stumped. This is a shade that I'm gonna have to just try and focus on and get creative with and learn how to use it. It's just not a shade that I'm very familiar with. So it's nothing that I can't overcome. We shall proceed with Warm Taupe, and I will hopefully warm up to Warm Taupe. Last but not least, we have Real Gar, this beautiful orange matte. And again, I've used this shade a ton, but not in this project. It was in another project. In the past month, I only used it 1 time, which is disappointing. So I've used it a total of 7 times. And it still has just like the slightest dip, hardly anything. This shade is just so pigmented that it's hard to make it look used. It's hard to get some disturbance in this shade. However, I'm not very worried about it. I know that this will be a shade that I will be reaching for in the summer and fall. And maybe now that we're in the spring, maybe I'll be feeling some more orange. It also depends on what I roll into my Paint Those Eyeshadows project, because some things just work better with certain shades that I roll in. I have a yellow in my project right now, so I should be mixing that with the yellow. Hello, Jay. Now we're in the spring, so a sunset look might be a little more understandable. We'll get there. Sometimes I'm really hard on myself. Even about this like silly stuff like panning. We will keep a watch on Real Gar and see how it goes. But for now, not much change happening. But I know that I've used that shade at least 30 times in the time I've had this palette. It was in the 20s somethings when it was in my Paint Those Eyeshadows, and I rolled it out because it's the end of the year. So I think so. I'll have to look back. Maybe it was like only like 11 times, which in that case, I guess it's understandable. I don't know. I can't remember all this stuff, guys. So that is my update. Here's one more look at what the palette is looking like now. I'll include a montage of all the updates from the past year at the end of this video, so you can see it again up close and compare, because that's my favorite part, is comparing. I'll like go back. I'll like rewind. I'll go back and compare each shade by shade, just to like see it for myself. I'm like a little detective. I'm such a dork. Oh my gosh, I'm on a weird one today. Goals. My goal for the next month is to get a nice dip going into Warm Taupe, get some use on that shade, as well as continue to expand pan on Vermeer and Primavera. That's what I'm mainly going to focus on, is those shimmers and Warm Taupe. I think having small goals for each month are good for me and are, in the long run, going to get me more progress on this palette. That's my hope, because if I'm using a couple shades the most, then you're going to see some solid progress rather than me using each shade a handful of times and not seeing any progress at all. So you're welcome. Thinking about you all out there because I know what I want to see and I want to deliver that. I want to deliver that for you. Progress on this palette is definitely slow and steady, and that is okay. I look forward to sharing with all of you the progress that I make in the next month in my next video. If you're interested in following me along on my Pen That Palette and all my other projects, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and click the bell, maybe. I don't know if you want to. Thank you again for watching this video. Give it a like if you enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye!